Let's move now to Port Elizabeth. Nigerian pastor Timothy Omotoso wants more details regarding the crimes he's accused of. Of course, he is on trial for a second time, a retrial in rape and sex trafficking charges. This, of course, in the High Court in Port Elizabeth. And let's now go to Lindsay Dentlinger, our reporter covering that story. Good afternoon to you, Lindsay. Of course, this is take two for this trial. We remember Cheryl Zondi. It was broadcast live and it had the entire country absolutely agog. This time round, it seems a very different story, and the defence seems to be pushing for interesting details around when certain crimes allegedly happened. Just tell us what exactly they're asking for.
Well, Sally, good afternoon. The defence team for Timothy Omotoso, Peter Darberman, saying this is in no way a frivolous application, asking the state for further particulars related to those charges. Neither does he say is this a delaying tactic, but purely to ensure that his clients are given a fair trial and a fair shot at justice. What's at stake is, as you say, further details related to those incidents. For example, when it comes to the sex trafficking charges, they want to know the exact street names and house numbers and exact dates, more importantly, as to when these alleged incidents took place, because he says without that information, his clients are not able to raise an alibi.
It's interesting because, you know, this is a do-over for this trial. You would have imagined that those details, if they say they indeed need to find their alibis for those specific dates, surely that would have been hammered out in the first trial. What is the state saying?
Well, it was hammered out in the first trial, Sally, and that is what new Judge Irma Skuman also put to Peter Darberman today. Him first telling the court that whatever happened in that first trial should be put aside and not considered, and then during his arguments in this new application, wanting to cite examples of why it's necessary for these details, and saying that previous judgments on this application, the merits of which had never been handed down, and so the judge should consider this application afresh. The charge sheet, I might add, has not changed at all since that first trial, and that's exactly what the judge put it to him as to how that trial was able to proceed the first time around, if he's raising all these issues with the charges the second time around.
I understand we should hear some answer on Thursday. What sort of interest has there been? I saw some crowds outside the courthouse earlier today. Tell us a little bit more about that.
Well, certainly for the pastor, the support for him has not wavered at all, Sally. They are here early in the morning with their placards and their T-shirts, singing and dancing and cheering when his wife arrives, and as well the two co-accused. And you can hear that singing and chanting when you're sitting in the courtroom. You can hear it out here in the streets. It never dies down. On the other side of the street, we have activists as well who are in support of the victims, most notably the Women's League of the ANC and the DA, and an unusual situation where they're standing side by side on the other opposite side of the street behind the police cordon, also singing and chanting in support of victims who we have not yet seen in these first 2 days of this trial.
And am I correct, Thursday we'll hear some answers?
Well, we will certainly hear from Judge Irma Skuman around this time tomorrow afternoon. She will rule in that application by the defence for those further particulars. The state had very short arguments to deliver, to say that in no way does the information that the defence claims is lacking from that charge sheet prejudice the defence in any way, and also pointing out that the victims just simply couldn't remember every single little detail of what street and what house number and what date and time these alleged incidents took place, and didn't believe that this would in any way affect justice. And Peter Darberman in response saying, well, if that was the case, that the victims couldn't recall that minutiae, then he should have put that, the state, that is, the state prosecutor, should have put that in an affidavit before the court, even in the first trial.
Thank you very much. That's the NCA's Lindsay Dentlinger in Port Elizabeth. Let's move